This is a video series on Canada's Department of Justice AIDS Tax Agency, that's the CRA agency, to defraud 240 plus Canadians. This is part 4 of the series, and I've been asked to help narrate this series. This is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. This is a Good Samaritan video for the public's best interests and those of preserving justice. Anyone that has an issue with this, please take it up with God. And you might want to save this to your computer just in case this gets removed. We'd like to thank Glenn at engineerwin@hotmail.com for posting this on his website to help us get the word out. And he's also been instrumental on sending this to all of the public authorities about this particular situation. So thanks, Glenn. Help us to get to 10,000 views and likes. On the bottom right-hand side below this video, you can select like and share this with as many people as you know. In part 1, we identified some of the statutory breaches committed by these agents and their co-conspirators, which carries up to a 14-year imprisonment sentence per offense. And per offense means every time they've garnished, every time an agent has been involved and has done something that's a statutory breach, those are per incident offenses. This doesn't even include criminal code violations, again, per incident. It includes theft, piracy, fraud, misrepresentation, conspiracy, uttering threats, terrorism, malicious prosecution, breach of trust. When scrutinizing the criminal code, approximately 35 separate charges apply here in this matter, like piracy, we mentioned that, trafficking, intimidation, unjust enrichment, extortion, etc., aside from treason, insurrection, and rebellion, which they have no problem applying to us. If you don't do anything about this, this will only get worse. It is in the public's best interest to prosecute these officers. Why? These officers are a national threat to the economic stability to all Canadians and security threat to your families and businesses. One victim was told by a bankruptcy agency, Abacan and Associates, that the CRA will forever be targeting all Demera Consulting clients, that they have been profiled in the CRA system. An agent from Abacan and Associates also stated that judges were coaching them to make sure bankruptcy court documents were filed and signed a certain way. Sounds like, smells like, looks like collusion? The T5008 process used by these accounting groups for tax reduction purposes is based on expense claims filed for operating a business corporation. The CRA purposely claimed these expenses were not business or corporate related deductions, but this is in the ITA bulletin still in circulation today. On CRA's website, it claims that the person argument is fraud. If this is true, then why does the law contradict this? As you will see shortly, every person is a corporation. The law quotes being referenced here are in the public, in their manuals, ITA, Acts, and dictionary. And these are only a small number of references. Even the 1611 King James Bible says, there is no respect of persons with God. That's Romans 2:11. He will surely reprove you if you do secretly accept persons, and that's Job 13:10. Person is found in the words and phrases for tax interpretations used by the CRA, found here, taxinterpretations.com/word s-n-phrases/p#term-130623. And here's the screenshot just in case they remove that. So in the red box here, you can see that the case law they use is Hague versus Cancer Relief and Research Institute. And in the tax reference, it has tax topics, Income Tax Act 241-260, Section 248, subsection 248, subsection 1, corporation. And then with the red arrow on the far right side, it shows the date and time that this screen capture was taken. So you know that this is a current image. And again, in the Police Officer's Manual of Criminal Offenses and Criminal Law by Gary P. Rodriguez, page 520. The case law used in both of these cases is Hague versus Cancer Relief and Research Institute, 1939, 4 DLR 191, Manitoba King's Bench. And it states that person, covering additionally public bodies, corporations, societies, and companies. The only legal person known to our law is the corporation, the body corporate. And these are exact quotes, folks. The CRA denied demerit and fiscal arbitrators' expense claims in contradiction to their very own definition and laws, an additional misrepresentation on their part. So this means a few things about CRA and their officers. Just maybe. They are either grossly incompetent, being instructed to intentionally subvert the law to harm others, to cover up their conversion of man and woman to fictions, which are legal lies, and teaching their agents to commit fraud against the people. If the government doesn't want us to use or know these things, then why is it in the police manual, the criminal code, tax codes, law dictionaries, case law, Security Act, etc., etc.? Further defined in the Garnishment, Attachment, and Pension Diversion Act, used by the CRA to seize your stuff, in quotes, because technically you don't own anything, individual and person are the same and are defined as corporation. Interpretations Act, RSC 1995 C.I-21, and this is to March 6, 2018, on page 20. Person or any word or expression descriptive of a person includes a corporation. 2013 Martin's Criminal Code, Interpretation Section, Section 2, page 13. Every one, person, and owner, and similar expressions include Her Majesty and an organization. 2013 Martin's Criminal Code again, Interpretation Section, Section 2, page 15. Municipality includes the corporation of a city, town, village, county, township, parish, or other territorial or local division of a province, the inhabitants of which are incorporated or are entitled to hold property collectively for a public purpose. Newly born child means a person under the age of 1 year old. Lots of person references here. Securities Act, RSBC 1996, Chapter 418, that's current to March 14, 2018. Part 1, Interpretation Definitions. Person includes an individual, corporation, partnership, party, trust, fund, association, and any other organized group of persons, and the personal or other legal representative of a person to whom the context can apply according to law. Securities Act again. Wow, we're really getting hit here. RSBC 1996, Chapter 418, current to March 14, 2018. Again, in the interpretations definition, individual means a natural person, but does not include a partnership. Unincorporated, so if it's unincorporated means that if it includes incorporated then, right? Unincorporated association, unincorporated syndicate, unincorporated organization or trust, or a natural person in the person's capacity as a trustee, executor, administrator, or personal or other legal representative. Bill 4, Missing Persons Act. First session, 40th Legislative Assembly of Manitoba in the definitions. Person means, except when used to refer to a missing person, includes a partnership, unincorporated association, and public body. Here we go again, 2015, Martin's Criminal Code, Trafficking in Persons. Trafficking in persons occurs when someone recruits, transports, transfers, received, holds, conceals, or harbors a person, or exercises control, direction, or influence over the movements of a person for the purpose of exploiting them or facilitating their exploitation. Could be CRA and RCMP when they pick you up. Canada's Evidence Act, Section 23, subsection 1. Inasmuch as every government is an artificial person and a creation of the mind, a government can only interface with other artificial persons. Isn't this what CRA and other government agencies are doing by first creating the person, requiring you to use the person, their ID, then disallow you remedy by control of your life affairs? Every taxpayer is assessed to K trust, having sufficient interest in the preventing abuse of the trust. This means when they refuse to set off the bill. Abuse of the trust to be recognized in this field of this court prerogative jurisdiction in Re Boland's 1912, 135, Northwest 164. See Sovereign Living YouTube videos for more. This was from one of Glenn's videos. And since this material is already in the public domain and within the government's own laws, how can anyone using the law for relief be in violation of it? The CRA's website states in the question 1, what is a tax protester? A tax protester are individuals who support the false notion that they do not have to pay tax on the income they earn by using a combination of legal and other arguments to place themselves outside of the tax system. One of the most common arguments tax protesters use is the natural legal person argument. On the CRA website again, Q2, what is a natural person and what is a legal person? Tax protesters treat themselves as two people for income tax purposes. They define the natural person as the individual that performs the labor required to earn income and the legal person as a legal entity that the federal government creates. Well, didn't we just prove that? And the link below for this particular page is right there. Okay, didn't we just see government laws convert man and woman to dead corporate entities? How can a man or woman be a fiction, a civilly dead entity, and a living soul at the same time? It's an impossibility, a dual self. Two people. Isn't it the government crown that created a second identity for civil law purposes for use as charging utilities, as has been shown here? So do you still think the CRA's website statement about tax protesters and the person argument is true? Or is it to create more confusion? Remember that famous line in Forever After with Drew Barrymore? If you suffer your people to be ill-educated and their manners corrupted from infancy, and then punish them for those crimes to which their first education disposed them, what else is to be concluded, sire, but that you first make thieves and then you punish them? Authorized 1611 King James Bible, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. That's Hosea 4:6. Again, Authorized 1611 King James Bible, that Christ should suffer, and that he should be the first that should rise from the dead, and should shew light unto the people and to the Gentiles. Gentiles are the government and people in positions of authority, correct? Acts 26:23. Rise from the dead people. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity, operating as a co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the public charitable trust, the constructive Sestake Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. Congressional Record, June 13, 1967, page 15641-156-646. See the James Bond movie Spectre. Authorized 1611 King James Bible, for as yet they know not the scripture, that he must rise again from the dead. John 29. Did Jesus not come to earth in the image of a man to demonstrate what has been done to God's people? Authorized King James Bible, and the sea give up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. Revelations 20:13. Remember the slide about Admiralty Law, Law of the Sea, the law instrument used to convey persons? Authorized King James Bible again, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. Luke 2-1. And Caesar, just another man in a Gentile position, making a claim against God's people. Weren't we told that slavery was abolished? Remember that slide about the Pope's extraordinary Jubilee? He asked the world for debt forgiveness and to return all property to the people, among other things. Has that been done? I don't think so. Doesn't prophecy say Christ will come again? So if government's law makes you a dead legal entity and God's law makes you a living man and woman, whose law/jurisdiction do you fall under? Man/woman equals God living, and person equals government's dead entity. And as the people wake up, Christ will rise again in them, returning the world from bondage to freedom and the dead to the living. That's a quote from KL. Now do you see why the CRA and others want to hush this up, and why they are persecuting the people by placing them in jail without a hearing, court order, or due process, and why they have to claim you are a national threat? And if using the laws of Canada makes you a threat to Canada, then wouldn't this also apply to any government agents using the laws against the people whom they convert to persons? Keep in mind there are more comments that could be added here, like how we took something that wasn't ours, but that is covered in other videos on the internet. And that regardless of your status, there are remedies in both civil and God's law. So why aren't they allowing civil remedies for self-litigants? Remember this from part 2, the whitehouse.gov/presidential actions, executive order blocking property, persons involved in serious human rights abuse, corruption. Again, this is under the British Columbia Vital Statistics Act, which states is defined as United States of America and District of Columbia, which ties Canada into the US, among other things. So we've discussed that before. Rogue CRA officers believe they are invincible and never accountable for any of the harm they inflict because they've gotten away with it for close to 40 years. Plus, they also represent the private banksters, so of course. Technically, CRA supervisors and all participating parties should be removed and prosecuted. Who else can you contact? Rhonda Nahorniak, Regional Director, General Counsel for Justice Canada Tax Law. Julia Parker, Deputy Regional Director and Senior Counsel for Justice Canada Tax Law. Diane Leboutillier, which oversees this mess. Minister of National Revenue. Eugene Rossiter, Chief Justice Tax Court of Canada. Lucy Lamar, Associate Chief Justice, Tax Court of Canada. Lynn Lovett, Assistant Deputy Minister of Tax Law Services. Tom Torrey, Tax Law Service, Justice Canada. Diana Miles, Acting Chief Executive Officer for the Law Society, and make sure you file a complaint about that to her. And there's Mark Briere, National President, Union Tax Examiners. You can also contact Maureen Jensen, Chair and Chief Exec Officer of the Ontario Securities Commission, for issuing fake securities, by the CRA issuing fake securities. And there are different securities commissions throughout the province. So just, I see there's one here for British Columbia. So Brendan Leong for British Columbia, make sure you get yours for your particular province. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, House of Commons. Department of Justice, Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Section. Mario Dion, Office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner, Parliament of Canada. The Right Honourable Richard Wagner, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Canada. Michael Ferguson, Auditor General, Canada. Bishar Abdirahman Hussain, General Director of the UPU, which is the Universal Postal Union, for mail fraud. So sending fake securities through the mail is actually mail fraud, so you can make sure you file a complaint there too. Any sheriff department in your area, other ministers and Privy Council, Governor General, etc. Those responsible for this national scale fraud: Minister of National Revenue, Diane Leboutillier. CRA Commissioners, Andrew Trush, which I understand he's retired now, so he can get his pension. Bob Hamilton, he's the current acting one. And Chief of Appeals, Michael Snow. Minister of Justice, Jody Wilson-Raybould. She's been notified apparently, and so has Beverly McLaughlin, but she's since retired as Chief Justice. Governor Generals of every province. Like this video, share this video, and tell others. Please send donations to Glenn for helping us out, get the word out. You can send it to engineerwin@hotmail.com. He receives Bitcoin or regular money by mail, PayPal, or to his Bitcoin address below. There may be more to come, so stay tuned in. Thank you for taking action, and this constitutes public notice.